In the famous words of Zhong Feng, when you don't know what to do with your life, you become a consultant. I'm not a consultant because I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Yeah, just to give you a brief history before I kind of go into this. I did found a company called ARC. I was here last year for those who were here. The basic premise behind it was to try to inspire a generation to be kind to people without any kind of religious background or faith background. So the simple idea was that every time you wore the clothing, you performed an act of random kindness for somebody else. And I was very young and naive. I started it when I was 18, and within 3 months we had sold into 15 countries. And 3 years later we were 30 countries deep and 16,000 people around the world. And it was kind of just this whirlwind of adventure and entrepreneurship, and it was really great fun. So I'll kind of share a little bit of what I learned through there. Currently, I genuinely don't know what I'm doing with my life, so I am a consultant. I went into the brand world and started teaching companies how to communicate and understand their audience better. So I'm still doing that, and kind of leaving 2 days a week to dream and scheme about what might be next. So if you have any ideas, come forward. Speak to me after. So Greg asked me to speak about justice. I guess that's kind of the theme today, and I love these kind of, I'm such a sucker for them on Twitter, 8 simple steps to this, so I kind of thought I'd entitle it 8 simple steps to justice. I'll explain that later, but I guess for me, the first image that came to mind were I think they're the American scales of justice. Maybe they're not even American, but it was this image, and of course I Googled it, and that was the first image that came to mind, just all these images of the scales. And I guess for me, I want to kind of talk a little bit about the world's version of justice and God's, because I kind of think they're different. This is the world's version of justice, and I guess it says, what you put out, you'll get back, and it has to be equal, and the more I kind of looked at that, I was like, there's something wrong with that. There isn't really there's no kind of grace perspective in that, and the more I kind of looked at it, it kind of turned into a different symbol for me, and I was kind of thinking what's Jesus's version of justice compared to the world's? And on one hand, you've got the scales, and on the other hand, you've got this symbol of complete humility and grace, and just an outpouring of love that was completely unnecessary and uncalled for. And I guess you could, to a certain extent, you could say it's unjust that we received grace, through God or through His actions. But for me, that's why Christianity is so exciting, because it doesn't really make sense, and I guess that's probably why Jesus' message spread so far. So I kind of just want to speak a little bit about, maybe kind of get out of the theoretical side of things and just get into the practical. That's what ARC was about, and I guess a big frustration was how much the church talked about justice and didn't actually do anything about it. So I'm just going to give a few examples of how you actually get there, and I think the first and kind of fundamental thing behind all of this is just our posture when it comes to justice and just the way that we go about our daily lives. Jesus took on this, he was, well, depending on what you believe, he was the Son of God, and he was the king, and he could have taken a throne and he could have just overruled Jerusalem and ruled the world, but he didn't. He kind of took the most humble route possible, and eventually ended up on a cross, and voluntarily ended up on a cross. And I kind of think our approach to justice kind of needs to be similar. We need to put ourselves in a position of just ultimate humility. And the examples that I'm going to go through are just kind of extreme examples of love that are just completely unnecessary. But in a world where it's all about balance and equality, I kind of think we have just this amazing opportunity to tip the scales the other way and just be completely stupid in our love, and just go way above and beyond what is expected of us. And Katie was even, we drove Shane down this morning, Katie was telling Shane some stories of different acts of random kindness we'd done, and we were just laughing our heads off at how ridiculous some of the stories got. So I'm going to tell you a few of them now. What's my first story? Oh yeah, okay. So go hard or go home. I think this is kind of this is kind of fundamental to everything that we do. Um, Katie and I run like a home group with a bunch of people from our church, and over Christmas, one of the guys said he wanted to deliver a hamper to a friend's mom who was in hospital, and the whole church were doing hampers, and they put out like a list of your standard beans and dried things that don't go off, and I guess typically what is expected of you, even though that is kind of above and beyond in and of itself, what's expected of you is you go to Tesco's and you just go through the list. But instead, Katie goes to Marks and Spencer's and she finds the most quality products that she could possibly find, and she goes to Body Shop. She doesn't just get Marks and Spencer's moisturizer, which apparently isn't good enough. She goes to Body Shop and gets something twice the price, and it ends up costing us twice the price. But in terms of grace and love, I kind of just think like if Jesus was to go that full length for us, then like that should be our response to other people. We could have given her a hamper, or we could give her the best hamper that she'll probably ever get in her life. So we did that. Go hard or go home. I just throw this into every talk that I do because I just think it's so important. We were talking at our table earlier about interacting with homeless people. That kind of seems to be a big theme now. Shane, you've just kind of chucked that in. How do we interact with homeless people? Do you give them money? Do you buy them a coffee? And Stephanie said, she bought a coffee for a girl and she sat down with her and ended up speaking to her for half an hour. And when she left, your girl said, "Look, thank you so much. Like, I wish there were more people like you in the world." And she was like, "Do people not give you coffee or give you money?" And she was like, "Yeah, I get money every day. That's why I sit here. But you're the first person that's actually sat and listened to me, and heard my story." And if you look at like the success, I'm into like my social media and all that kind of jazz. If you look at the success of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, like it's not about their technology. It's about giving people a voice and a platform to be heard. And that's why like your dopamine levels are going nuts when you're getting little likes on your Facebook and your Instagram. It's because you're being heard and people are appreciating you. And I just think you can never underestimate the power of just listening to someone's story and just asking questions that kind of go past, "How are you doing?" So yeah, listen, serve the servers. This is a bit of a theme and maybe a passion of mine. Again, like going back to the scales. Okay, let's take a restaurant scenario for example. In a restaurant, you expect, because you're paying a price, that someone who is coming to serve you is getting paid for it. So there's no expectation of friendship or even a smile. You can get away with that. Whereas in normal life, you have to smile and be nice. So why in a restaurant should you do any different? I'm sure, as the majority of you guys are Christians, you probably all are smiley and lovely when you go in and get served. But I think there's just like a whole new attitude that we can bring to that kind of scenario. Like actually knowing their name when you order. Say their name in it, or maybe even shake their hand. I don't know if that would be weird, but like actually see them as a human instead of just someone that's serving them. And I think like sometimes we can be guilty of, thinking that justice is dodging bullets in Iraq, like Shane seems to enjoy. But like sometimes it's just in the local shop. And like I just kind of think like, and it suits some people, and I'd love to be dodging bombs in Iraq. That'd be fun. But like we have the opportunity every day to do it, and kind of these scenarios are just perfect examples of where you're there every day. So like Tesco's, like often in Tesco's we would just chuck in a chocolate bar or like a smoothie or something nice, and then at the end just give it to them and just say like, there you go, it's for you. And the reactions you get are amazing, but guaranteed you'll make that person stay. What it cost you, like €2, it's absolutely worth it. I've actually when I was writing this, I was thinking a cool idea would actually be to like kind of understand where they are in life and then bring them a book the next week. Like imagine working in Tesco's and being remembered by someone, not just this one-off transaction, but if you went on Saturday at 3 p.m., go back next week on Saturday at 3 p.m., they'll probably be there. Bring them a book, bring them a quote, bring them something that that showed that you were thinking about them. There's just this, and oh yeah, corner shop. I love this one. Like, I was this is actually, this is kind of weird story, but I was like, sometimes I just get these hunches that I'm going to win the lottery. I've never won the lottery, and I haven't really done it that much, but every time I've done it, I've been guaranteed that I'm going to win it. Like, anyway, I went into a corner shop, had this hunch I'm going to win the lottery, and was walking through the streets, and there was a busker, and she was playing the violin, and she was amazing, like really, really good. And I stood there, and I was like, okay, change. I was like, crap, don't have any change, and pulled out what I had, of course, my lottery ticket. I was like, oh crap, like I'm gonna win. I can't give her the lottery ticket. Anyway, like gave it to her, and like kind of walked off, and then she kind of like chased me, and she was like, what if I won? And I was like, well, enjoy it. And like it was just so amazing. Anyway, like I would have to the corner shop as well, because how often are you there, and how often are you seeing this person day in, day out? And there's just, I just kind of think like a lottery ticket's such a cool example of extreme generosity, even though it's only £1 or £2, whatever it is. Like, I'd often and just give it to them, like the shock on people's faces is actually unbelievable. He's going to kill me for this one, but I'm a big believer in timekeeping, and I won't go into rant here, but I think it's definitely a culture in Northern Ireland, or maybe in Ireland as well. Like if you're meeting at 2, you're meeting at 2:15. Like Katie spent some time in Thailand, and if you're meeting at 2, you're meeting at 4. It's just like, and they didn't even apologize. They just turned up as if like they were on time. For me, like, being on time means I respect your time, So, like, if you're going to meet Queen, you're not going to turn up late. Or if you're going to go to a really important business meeting, like, you're going to be there 5 minutes early, be walking around the block and turn in on time. So, like, why, if you're meeting just a mate or somebody else, should you, like, value them any different? Like, if you take Jesus as an example, like, he didn't see anybody on any kind of scale. He just... Again, posture, just got to this posture of on the ground, like we're all at the same level. And for me, I just think that's a really important one. This is really simple. Like, if you're not going to take anything from today, think of someone that you have a grudge against and just go forgive them. I could give a whole sermon on that, but like, ultimately, it just comes down to one thing. Like, do you have a grudge against someone and there's something you need to forgive? Go do it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Okay, this is a little experiment. Don't press the next one yet. So this picture, this is one of my favorite pictures. I just love it. For those who can't see, it's one egg holding his other egg friend, who's just about to fall off the table. So this is a little experiment. I don't know how successful it may be, but I'm just going to try it anyway. So when you think of this, okay, this is you clinging on to your friend, okay? So when you look at that friend, who's the first friend in your life that comes to mind? Okay. So hopefully you'll have a name in your head. This is something I do sometimes. Like, so I guess in our culture we're expected to like give birthday presents on birthdays to appreciate a friend. And one day I just kind of had this idea, like, how cool would it be to get a birthday present not on my birthday? Just because like your birthday's like, I appreciate you. You're a great person, here's a gift. But like it kind of becomes this routine. So I kind of thought, let's for a year just make this rule that I don't buy birthday presents on birthdays. I just buy them on like other random days before their birthdays. So like my challenge to you is like, so this person, you've got them in your head, like give them a birthday present this week. It doesn't actually have to be a monetary gift. If that's your excuse that you don't have any money, then like write them a note or do something nice like that. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. And I just kind of think like we have these tiny opportunities all the time just to, I guess, to put them in a position where God puts them in their eyes or in his eyes and just say like, you are really important and you're loved, And that doesn't have to be the result of it's your birthday or you did something really nice for me. It's just like, you're just an awesome person. So yeah, that's that one. I think that's it. Is that it? Yes, like just to finish up, but I know I don't want to keep people away from their lunch, but like it's all about posture essentially, and I think that's kind of why we kind of started with like the thing in ARC, just like something on your back that could remind you that Even though like your salary may make you global head of, what are you, John? Like, I don't know, something crazy. Like, he runs Google. Global head of whatever, and you're getting paid X million, or like you're earning next to nothing. Like, that's you, John, isn't it? Yeah. Like ultimately, like if we're looking at people through God's eyes, then like we're all the same, you know. And like, I just think like there's no excuse to kind of walk around on our high horses and kind of see people on like a different scale. And we just have this incredible opportunity in a world where it is all about skills, it's all about balance. To just tip the other way, you know, tip tables as Jesus did, and just say like, you know, you are valuable no matter what the world says about you, you know. And then it doesn't, like, the best thing is you don't need to go back and response to it. Like you can literally give someone a birthday gift tomorrow, or forgive them, or, you know, send someone a note, or like, especially like the people in society that would often be seen as like, you know, second to us, you know, and like especially in the serving kind of industry, hospitality. It's so easy just to stay on our high horse and just be the person that gets served, but, you know, why not just take Jesus' route and just do it the right way? That's me. Thanks very much.